Joe Biden is making history. He's the president who has conducted the least press conferences in the U.S. in our history, 33 so far. Trump did 88, Obama did 164, FDR did more in 1 year than Biden's entire term. Our college campuses on fire, turning into radical Islamist breeding grounds. Our economy is in the shambles, with the Americans suffering more and more every day as prices keep going up. Hey, and World War III, a potential happening for that. And our borders are wide open. And yet Biden continues hiding from the very people who put him in office. But that doesn't mean we stay silent. In fact, we need to have our voices heard and our opinions heard now more than ever. Tonight, I'm joined by a group of Americans who have a lot of opinions on the state of our nation today and the looming 2024 presidential election. Do their thoughts and opinions mirror yours? We go there next.
Joe Biden is doing that, created 9 million jobs in his term in office. Donald Trump has the worst record of job loss of any president. So we just have to make sure people know.
That was a global pandemic.
He had the worst record of any president. We've had other concerns in our country. If you want to be an apologist for Donald Trump, that may be your role, but it ain't mine. And he has the worst.
I don't think that anybody can accuse me of that.
No, but let me just say, as a Speaker of the House, we put forth a $3 trillion bill. $3 trillion of investment in communities and the rest, and that stimulates the economy.
Blood shoots out of my eyes every time I hear this. He was the worst. It was a pandemic. No, it's not. He was the worst. Yeah, and FDR, with this logic, was the worst with global warming, because some places on Earth, when Truman was in office, the temperature went up 7,000 degrees. I am sick and tired of the left manipulating and lying through their teeth day after day about Bidenomics, about the things we see, the things we know, the things we experience every day. No, Joe is not responsible for record-breaking job numbers. Inflation is not going down. And no, Janet Yellen we can't feel great about our economy, because the proof is in the actual numbers. The actual numbers. But it's also found in everyday Americans who are crying for more help and lower prices every single day. I really have come to the place. I wrote the book on the Great Reset, which their slogan is, you won't own anything and you'll be happy. I didn't know how you could possibly take everything from an entire country until now. I see with everything that is going on in the country, the proposed taxes, the liabilities, the way they're restricting everything, the way they are just spending and spending and spending. And what have you gained from the spending? We will truly own nothing if this doesn't stop. We asked this group of Americans who are in the studio now here on stage 19 how they're faring financially. Here are some of the answers. I live paycheck to paycheck. For 35 years, my husband worked. I stayed home, homeschooled our children, including our special needs adult daughter. Now I'm returning to full-time work just to make ends meet. Inflation has taken a big toll. My retirement keeps getting pushed back. Business has been slow. Let me get to know you guys just a little bit. I think I know how this one's probably going to go, but let me ask by a raising of hands. How many are voting for Biden? one joker? It's lucky because there was a spike coming out of the wall. Anybody considering voting for RFK? No one. Good. And Donald Trump? Yeah, okay. How many are reluctant and you wish you had another choice, but you're voting for Donald Trump? Okay. That's an amazing number. That's an amazing number. Can we pass the mics around for just a sec before we get to the economy? I want to know why you're reluctant to vote for him and why you are voting for him even though you're reluctant.
The reluctance is really not about his policies. I just wish we had better people as options. better
Okay.
charactered people as options. I think he does a great job. When do we still even say, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Do they even ask that anymore?
No.
Because how could anyone say yes?
Yeah.
But I will absolutely be there with bells on to vote for him.
Right. How many of us are more committed to this election? Let me ask it this way. Are you more committed to this election than any other election maybe in your lifetime? Yeah. Wow. Anybody that is just kind of like, I don't know if it even matters anymore. Ooh. Let's talk to Nick and you. So Nick here in the front, right there. Nick, why do you think it doesn't even matter anymore?
Mostly because of the 2020 election. There was a lot of, no one
irregularities.
No one knows one way or the other.
Yeah.
I think there was a little bit of funny business going on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have really any faith in the electoral process.
Okay. You? What is your name? I'm sorry.
Jake.
Jake.
I think that Trump's response to COVID with the constant stimulus packages and kind of locking Americans down, I think we bashed the left for our First Amendment free speech, which we should.
Right.
And I think that he doesn't get hit hard enough for my right to assemble.
But because that's a really big deal, but that's not enough to stop you from voting, or
I don't know if I'll vote for him, honestly.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Really?
I don't know who I'll vote for, honestly.
Okay. How many of you are concerned that this, with the way things are going, this may be America's, I hate to be hyperbolic, but this is the way I feel, it's our possible last chance? That's quite an amazing thing. Oh, look at the two of you with hope over there, like, no, this isn't our last chance. Good for you. Okay, Letitia, tell me about how the economy is affecting you.
Well, my husband and I, first off, we started, when we chose our career paths, we chose careers that we love and we're passionate about versus trying to get a career that's going to make us a ton of money.
Right.
And so in that, I started my own small business about 15 years ago. And, for the first 10 years, everything was great. Prices were pretty stable and everything. COVID hit. I survived COVID. The business, bounced back and is doing really well. But
You're the one.
Thank you. Yeah. Under Biden's economy, it's like every year I'm having to do price increases. And now it's at the point where either I'm going to need a part-time job or my husband's going to need to get a part-time job, or I may even just need to close my business and get a full-time job doing something else that's going to pay better.
Wow. How long do you think you can last with this pace?
Maybe another 2 or 3 years, if that.
How much is, well, first, what is the cause of the inflation in your mind?
As far as the economy?
Yeah.
Well, just all the spending.
Okay.
It's like they keep spending, and so, that means that there's more money in the market, and so when there's more money in the market, then things are going to be more expensive.
What is your business?
I have a dance studio.
Oh, wow. Well, my daughter was a dancer. I wish I would have known you existed. Thank you. How many people have small businesses? Okay. How many people are being affected by regulation? New regulations? Okay. At what point are you even close to any more of these regulations and I can't keep my doors open? No? Good. That's good. All right. What is your name? I'm sorry.
John.
John. Come on up, John. So tell me about your economic situation.
Thankfully, being the owner of my own business, I do get to do what I can, right, to up the work quotient,
right,
to keep up with things. But I grocery shop for 7 in my house, and so that's
it causes that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
But, no, you should see.
No, I know.
You'd understand.
Yeah.
But it's just horribly frustrating. I'm a refugee from the used to be great state of California, so I'm so grateful to be in a free place.
Yeah.
However, it's just not moving the way that it should. And if I could ask,
You live in Texas, right?
thank God.
Yeah, I mean Texas is, again, in 2008, we were responsible for 50% of the entire growth after 2008. And I think it's higher this time. I mean, if Texas went away, America is washed out quickly.
Absolutely. And so something that I've been trying to do over the last several years is put my money where my mouth is and align with this parallel economy. But it's expensive to buy small and local.
Yeah.
And so I've just, as inflation has been so bad, or just rising costs in general, I think it's much more difficult for the average person to be in that parallel economy,
right.
To build that up so that we can really put our money where it goes. And I think we saw some great success in that from an ideological standpoint over all the big things, whether it was Target or these other companies that were affected. And so I would just love to know how we can actually do that, to keep everything, all
I think we're at the
local.
very beginning of it. I mean, that's the thing, I think, with the parallel economy is it's not completely viable yet. When I bought this elephant, this studio, it had gone out of business with Paramount, and then I come in and buy it and update it and buy all these lights and everything else. And it didn't work for a long time because there was no other infrastructure except it was me and Major League Baseball. Netflix wasn't even streaming yet. Okay, so it was me and Major League Baseball, and it was tough for many, many years. But then you hit a tipping point, and we hit it 3 years ago, where now there's enough people that are using things like this. It's becoming natural. Right now, you go to Target. My wife will say, because she'll come in with a Target bag occasionally, I'll be like, ah.
I apologize.
She's like, you know what? When you're a mom and I have to go to 6 different stores or one, you tell me what you're going to do, Mom. How many moms feel that way? Yeah, only one. Okay. And my wife, well, you'd get along. All right. So go ahead. What were you saying?
I was just say I apologize whenever I have to show up with one of those other items. I took for a birthday party this weekend with my son and had a gift receipt just in case the kid didn't like it. I apologize. It's from Target.
I know. I know. But it's weird. It's like, thank you very much, John. It's weird because it's almost like how I felt living in New York City. You just feel like this isn't my space. You just feel a little on the out. Everything. Now, I go into Target now, and I don't trust anything. I don't trust the signage. I don't trust. What does that T-shirt say? It says, hang 10. Who are the 10 that you want to hang? It's crazy how we're in this transition, and it will get easier. Derek, how are you?
I'm excellent. How are you, sir?
Very good.
So as the owner of several small businesses in Wichita, we're really struggling because the economy is pushing the employees to obviously want higher wages because of what they're spending. Our suppliers are continuing to raise prices, right. So we're being squeezed in the middle. And
right.
It's a huge, it's a huge challenge in that we really don't see that our congressmen and our senators are listening, and the spending continues. And with this out of control inflation, I really don't see how we're going to be able to overcome it, because that continuation of printing money will just continue as the interest rates stay high.
We have a couple of hundred employees at the Blaze, and I have this conversation with our CEO probably twice a month, maybe 3 times a month of, there are employees, we pay well, we pay market or above market, and people are struggling. It's like, I can't make it. And we keep saying, well, they can't make it, but if we keep raising with inflation, we go out of business. I mean, we just don't know what to do, And I think it's why I have bet on Texas, and I have bet on a small, itty-bitty town in Idaho where everybody knows each other. They're all farmers. I'm the only obnoxious, person in the, I come in and they're like, oh, he's the guy who claims to be a rancher, but not really. And I've bet on these because I'm hoping that the state of Texas would stand, but I'm not so sure at times. And in Idaho, even if the state falls, good, solid, hardworking, religious people that really, truly understand rights, I'm hoping we all just work together, but we may come into a place to where we're all consecrating all of our goods, to the Lord, and then take as you need for a while. How many of you, thank you.
Thank you.
How many of you would and this is easy to answer, but I want you to really think about it before you answer. My grandparents always talked about World War II. And I mean, we're not even close to living what the rich people were living back in World War II, okay? It was bad. And my grandmother talks about, you know, lard sandwiches. That was all they had was bacon fat, and they'd put it on, and that's what my grandfather would eat, and she'd make the bread. How many of you seriously believe you could take a drastic, or would take a drastic lifestyle downshift to save the country?
You'd have to trust somebody before you could do that.
Yes, I know. I'm not saying it's even feasible that would happen, because I don't, you know, what politicians will say, we're all going to sacrifice. Right. But I'm wondering if, because a lot of people right now, they either think this is going to forever go on because it's always been like this, which it hasn't been, or they will just start whining and bitching when things get tough. And I think we can make it together if we hold up our ethical and moral standards and lower our living standards just to save the country and save our children. But it's not going to be a choice. It's just, it's a mindset where those communities will collectively say, we're going to help each other to get through this. All right, back in just a minute. Let me tell you about our sponsor. It is Preborn. It's Mother's Day soon. And you have your mom, maybe your wife in mind, the women in your life who have had children. But I want you to think about another set of women, young pregnant women who are in distress. I have met some of these women. I have been to preborn centers. And I'm telling you, the stories I hear are absolutely incredible. These people, these women come in and they're all alone most times. There's nobody in the family that supports them for a baby. Maybe dad is, you know, not around. And if he is, he doesn't want anything to do with the baby. And everybody in their life tells them, you got to get rid of the baby. Once you show them a ultrasound, the chances of her choosing life, because she's been told her whole life, that's nothing. And you want to believe it. Everybody wants to believe it because they don't want another baby. It's just a clump of cells. Once mom hears the heartbeat and sees the baby, it doubles the chances. Then the thing keeping her back, most likely, is I'm alone. I don't have any money. I can't care for the baby. That's the second step from preborn. They not only give the free ultrasound, but then the free care for her and the child for up to 2 years. This is a double whammy. You not only save the child, but you save the mother as well. You can bring life to both a mother and a child at risk. One ultrasound is $28. 5 ultrasounds, $140. Every penny goes towards loving mothers and babies as well. When you become a monthly sponsor, you're going to receive pictures and stories of the lives that you help save. Get involved. Simply dial pound 250. Say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 keyword baby, or visit preborn.com/Glenn. We have a focus group in here in the studios today of about 40 people, and we ask them all kinds of questions. One of them is, what issues are you most concerned about with this election? Out of the responses, over half listed the same answer. What do you think it was?
All of the above.
All of the above. Immigration, national security. You're not alone. Gallup found in March 2024 that in 1 year, just 1 year, the percentage of Americans concerned about immigration a great deal has jumped from 41% last year to 48% today. If you're not concerned about what's happening on our border and immigration, you're not paying attention. Our country is being invaded as we speak. I don't care what color you are. They talk about the great replacement theory, and that's the fear of all white people. I don't care what color you are. I do care that you're replacing the culture, and you're replacing everything America stands for with God only knows what. Our leaders in Washington seem to be more concerned about fighting a war in Ukraine than the one that is brewing on our own streets. We have Brandon. What is the most important thing this year for you?
Thank you, Glenn.
You're welcome.
I work in ministry. I'm a minister of the gospel. And all these issues to me funnel through a loss of piety in the hearts of our country. That there is, that you said it years ago, it took us 5,000 years to get this close to seeing some form of goodness and heavenly resplendence on the earth, protecting rights. And for me, the biggest issue is are we voting the way that's going to reintroduce a culture that will permeate a land and people of good conscience?
So thank you for that comment. I will tell you, this is one reason why people are talking about Christian nationalism, which I find extraordinarily dangerous if you know what it is. It is not just being proud of your country and being a Christian. It is a total replacement of the system because we are a nation and our system is built, as our founder said, for a religious and moral people. If you're not religious and moral, this is a wholly inadequate system for you, okay? And that's true. But some say, then we need to get the church and the state together as one. That is not our system of government. But there will be a great humbling if that's the way he has to. You know, I'll tell you one prayer that the Lord answers for you so fast. Pray for humility. Oh my gosh. I prayed for humility at one point. Lord, please make me, oh, he will. Oh, he will make you humble. But I pray for that for our nation because we're not grateful and we're not humble and nothing is sacred. Hi, Lisa.
Yes, I am the mom that after 35 years returning back to work after homeschooling our 3 kids and raising our special needs daughter.
It has to be really daunting, that thought.
It is, but you take care of your family.
Yeah.
My biggest concern coming into this election is that we don't lose our religious freedoms, because it's very important to me that I was able to homeschool my children and give them the education that I wanted, a godly worldview and not a standard worldview, and also that they have those choices that we were able to have. And I'm concerned that we have a leader that will allow us to do that and not take more of those freedoms away from us.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, I was just talking to a friend of mine in Scotland today on radio, and he told me a terrifying fact about Scotland, that they had just passed in their house or whatever they have over there, godforsaken country. Anyway, he said that they are on the verge of assigning adults for every family that will talk directly to the children without parental guidance. Can you imagine what that's like? If that's not 1984, I don't know what is. And it's happening. I wish people could understand. It's not a Donald Trump, Joe Biden problem. Right. It is an elite versus the people problem throughout the West. Lee.
Hi, Glenn.
Hi.
I am the Deputy Director for Gun Owners of America for the state of Texas. And just today we were with Attorney General Ken Paxton to file another lawsuit against the ATF and the universal background check for private sales. And so my concern, being both a lobbyist at the Capitol, at the state Capitol of Texas, and then working with the grassroots and what firearms enthusiasts, my real concern is that the number of people that tell me how many firearms they own, but really don't understand the obligation that we have to the Second Amendment to remain a militia. Mm-hmm. And it's the ATF that scares us all, that's you're going to get raided, you're going to...
You know, I have to tell you, because I have that same fear. I mean, they're making all of us criminals just through regulation. They'll get you. It's becoming Russia. Show me the person, I'll show you the crime. And one of the things on guns is we have to be uber responsible with the understanding that the Second Amendment was not about duck hunting.
Right.
It wasn't. It was for an out-of-control government and a militia. And I have heard one state, which I won't name, is talking now, at least internally, about developing militias. They have them in, I think, the Carolinas, but developing militias that if you are a gun owner, you can sign up. That gives you the clear right that you are part of a well-organized militia and have a right to guns. And I think we should start moving in some of those directions.
And you can go watch this press conference today, but just so you all know that Texas leads the country in FFLs that have been closed. And the Kansas Attorney General was here today to file with us. They're in second. So we've got 26 states. You'll see 3 more lawsuits come out soon. But if we all don't stand up, and it is, you don't want to be that guy, but unfortunately, I escaped California over firearms. My sons shoot competitive. And it's...
We're close. We're close on everything. Okay, so how many people here are concerned? Number one priority, loss of rights. Number one priority. Then show me your number one concern is immigration. Okay. Show me how many people are very, very concerned that we are being led into a slaughterhouse in World War III. Yeah. All right. Back with more in just a minute. So one of the things I am really concerned about is, because I'm a long-time prepper, and one thing that I have not been able to solve until recently is medicine. How do we get medicine? Because 19 out of the 21 ingredients that we need for most medicines, we don't have. They're all in China. And I think that's not going to, it's a long boat ride from China, especially if the world is in trouble. So how do you do it? Well, there are ways to get as much medicine as you might need for your family, a year's worth of supply. In case something happens, something goes down, you have the medicine that you need. Two of my daughters have special needs. One has special needs from cerebral palsy, and the other one, they both have epilepsy. They have to have their medication or they just don't function. What happens if I can't get that at the CVS or the Walgreens? Jase Medical, Jase medical.com. You can get the first starter kit is just a Jase case. It has 5 essential antibiotics that treat the most common deadly bacterial infections. With all the talk about we should go into civil war, that's madness. You know how many people died because they got a little paper cut on their finger? We have medicine now that is miraculous, and we take it for granted. There may be a time where it's hard to get it. Get storage of your medicine for your family with Jase Medical, Jase medical.com. Enter the promo code Beck at your checkout and receive a discount on your order. JaseMedical.com. Scott, welcome.
Thank you.
Biggest issue?
My biggest issue is the fact that the electorate that we have doesn't remember what happened and what a politician said yesterday. Example being, back in 2008, just then candidate Obama said it was un-American to spend,
yes,
was it $700 million, something like that, $1 billion that George W. Bush wanted to spend. It's un-American. 2 years later, we got to spend $800 billion now. And Republicans said no, and Republicans said yes. Democrats said no, Democrats said yes. We need to start to remember, you said this and now you're doing this. That's the problem.
Do people, I mean, I think we've gotten to a place to where we have seen, let me ask you this. Do you believe anybody will be punished for any crime if they're in Washington, D.C.? No. Who believes that they would be? Sadly, no. Not a single hand. That, I think, is the problem. We I think many of us feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think many of us feel like it doesn't matter anyway.
That's true.
They're going to do what they do. They all lie. It's extraordinarily dangerous in a republic. But I think that's where we are, and we have to fight that impulse of just tuning out and giving up.
And hold a politician's feet to the fire. Go to the town hall and say, hey, that's not what you said.
Right.
Because you're running right now, you're talking as a conservative, but for the last 5 years as a senator, and I'm not going to name his name here in Texas. Texans know who I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
But the last year when he's running for re-election, oh, I'm as conservative as there is. No, you're not.
Yeah.
We just aren't paying attention for 5 years.
Thank you for that. I don't think people know how close we are to winning. We are really close to winning. These last few votes where they have just disrupted. I've been watching. If you've been watching me for a while, you know that I've been looking for that moment that came in 1853 where a senator was beaten down on the floor of the well of the Senate, where the tension was just, and nobody did anything to that congressman. He walked away, never questioned, never tried, nothing. And the guy who he beat down, there in the well of the Senate, beat down, he was incapacitated for about 3 years, really never fully recovered. But that was the moment where people went, oh my gosh, none of you people are serious. That gave birth to the Republican Party. And I think we're in that, we're approaching that moment. I hope it doesn't come with a beatdown, but we're approaching the moment where none of you people are serious. And we're looking beyond the parties. The Democrats just got squashed by their party. It went to Marxism and radicals, and the Blue Dog Democrats, they just stopped being there. And now everybody just walks in lockstep. But this is not the Tea Party of 2010. This is different. And I get emails from, about 20 people in Congress and the Senate. And they all are saying the same thing. Glenn, please tell your audience, don't give up. Call right now. We are so close. We're at a tipping point. We really are at a tipping point. And if we can just get those senators, shore the senators and the congressmen up that are doing the right things, and make sure we hold their arms up, and let them hear our voices saying thank you, and then elect just a few more. It's going to take a handful of people, just a few more, and this whole thing will tip. And the Republican Party, as we know it, will crater. And the game will be up, I think. Hi. You don't have a name tag, so I don't know your name. Oh, there it is.
Jen.
Hi, Jen. How are you?
I'm good. And actually, this is a perfect segue to my heartburn issue, which is the two parties. I feel like the two parties are fighting in the driver's seat, both in the driver's seat. One has their foot on the accelerator, and the other one has the foot on the brake. They're both going the same direction. I think we've lost our opportunity to actually have a viable third party. I'm not necessarily on board for, Kennedy. I've actually been a libertarian since I could vote. But the issue is they're both parties, the GOP and the DNC, are captured. And the people that are in the party, both sides are captured. We keep voting for the same problem.
I know.
One's going faster and one's dragging.
Oh, yeah, I know. One's on a rocket ship and one's in a plane. They're both going the same direction. You're exactly right. Thank you for that comment. I think the only difference is, Jen, is that, like I said, show me the people in the Democratic Party who are fighting for the Constitution. That's fighting. So, guys, we got to turn around. We have to turn around. This has got to stop. I can't name one in Washington. I can name maybe 40 of them in the Republicans, and they're all the unpopular ones with the Republicans. Yeah. So there is a group of people. That's why we feel like outcasts, but we're not. They've separated and divided us so well that it's Pavlov. It's a Democrat. But that is good for the people in Washington. But I don't think that's our neighbors. I really don't. Our biggest problem in the country I think, is apathy. People they just don't care. They just don't care. Hi, Mac.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Well, that segues pretty well into my point in that this is going to be
I'm an expert at this.
No, but so this is going to be my first presidential election to vote in.
Wow.
And I think when I look around at, my friends, and I've got relatives and, people that are younger than me even, and we grew up in exactly what you're talking about, this divided state. And we kind of identify things that way. Oh, those are Democrats. Well, that's bad, because there is a movement in principal conservatism among young people. However, we still let things like personality issues, between, like, oh, I just don't like Donald Trump because,
mean
personality
tweets.
Things.
Yeah,
exactly. Which is kind of a valid point, but they don't get the bigger picture. Like, we need people that are my age and a little younger to kind of give more of a crap, like, dig into it a little bit.
So how do we do that? How do we approach that?
We need to make the detailed information accessible, easily accessible, something that's in your, like just a fact, almost.
But the problem is, with an exception really of TikTok and X, and TikTok is only like this. Try to say something about Biden and China and corruption, it's removed immediately from TikTok. But I can say anything else on TikTok, and it's left up. We don't engage in TikTok for other reasons. But that and X is the really only viable option outside of a place like this. When you have X or Facebook or TikTok or whatever, if they're choking us out, we can't get the information out.
Well, and I've noticed something watching your show recently, and it's that you have gotten incredibly good at almost speaking in a second language. Like, you'll bring up points, you and Stu both will bring up points completely sarcastically, because then no one can like misquote you on that. At least that's the way it sounds to me. Like, like, oh yeah, and whatever Joe Biden's doing right now, this is going to be great for us.
This is
like,
fantastic.
You get your point across that way, and I think that's something that young people respond to well, is sarcasm, because we use it all the time. And that's our language, And I think that it's gonna have to tunnel off of that.
Well, thank you for that. I think you're right, and we're having a hard time. And while we are throttled, I want to play a piece of video from a woman who was hired by the administration to do propaganda, not advertising, propaganda. Watch.
I started TikTok like the spring semester of my senior year, and I was like, I finally have to start applying for law school. And then female privilege, life is so easy for a, woman. Obviously, I lucked out. I'm just kidding. I lucked out. And then, TikTok was basically full time for me. I think I was taking ads by the time I graduated college from like the Biden administration and Planned Parenthood and like dating apps and stuff. So it was like fully financially, sustaining.
So you were getting, the Biden administration was buying ads from you?
Yeah, I was doing full on political propaganda.
And they would really, with like what kind of like Biden created 10 million jobs this year?
Honestly. And the funny thing is they're like, do not disclose this is an ad, because, they're like, technically it's not a product, so you don't have to disclose it's an ad. Because I think they just wanted like some edgy girl of color to just tell people, like when they nominated like Ketanji Brown Jackson, they're like, can you say like as a person of color, that you feel reflected? And it's like a white woman emailing this to me, and she's like giving me this script, and I'm like, no. And she's like, please. And I'm like, no, I'll like talk about the news of it, but I'm not gonna be like, I'm not gonna have a white person tell me to be like, this is how I feel as a person of color. Like, it's just so, I think that black-pilled me slightly on like, political propaganda stuff.
So the Biden administration sees, here's this young,
yeah, they use like a conduit. It's not like, you know what I mean? It's not Biden, but it's like a third party. You know what I mean? It's like a media company that's doing it on his behalf. I'm not blaming him for this.
Yeah, and the message is like, because you're a dark-skinned woman, you will be inspired by Ketanji Brown Jackson, and all the kids should support her.
Yeah, they're like, basically as like another black person, just say that like you feel reflected by Ketanji. I'm like, no, I'll talk about like Ketanji's background and her accomplishments, but like I never, you know what I mean? Like I'm not gonna say like the corny stuff. Even if it was a brown person emailing it to me, I'm like, no, that's not like how I feel. Like I don't look at like Ketanji and feel like, wow.
Yeah.
So I find her incredibly brave. The fact that she She has her line. She won't say that I feel empowered, but she'll take the money and say whatever else they want her to say. How do you live with yourself? I mean, I say, and I don't have to, I say before we go into commercials on radio, this is a commercial, our sponsor this half hour. I do that so I separate, so you know, because I know if I'm listening and I hear somebody start into an ad and they didn't say it was an ad, when I figure out it's an ad, I like, wait, how long has this been, was this just a whole setup for that? She is saying, they say you don't even have to say it's an ad. That is sheer propaganda. But that's the world we're living in. Back in just a minute. Now, let me tell you, as a black woman, that if you're a homeowner and you're like me, a black gay woman, you want to protect your home, but you don't want men around to do it. They're worthless. When's the last time you checked the title on your home? Even if you never have, I want you to listen to this. A new report on homeowners shows that we now have $16 trillion available in equity in our homes. It's an all-time high, $16 trillion. That's why we should all protect from the cyber scams the FBI calls home stealing, where the equity in your home is a target. If nobody is watching the title, it is, and I wish I could tell you exactly how to do it, but I won't, because I'm a proud black woman. But it's so easy to steal the title. It takes like 2 steps, and then they can take out loans, say that you sold the home to this couple over here. You didn't do anything. You lose everything. They take out all of the equity in your home. They're gone. Then the sheriff shows up, and you have very little you can do. Protect the equity in your home with triple lock protection from HomeTitleLock.com. The first step is to check on your home's title to see if it's still in your name. Sign up now with your address at HomeTitleLock.com. Make sure you use the promo code BLAZE. They'll send you a complete title scan of your home's title, and your first 30 days of triple lock home title protection is free. Do it now. HomeTitleLock.com, promo code BLAZE. And you go, girl. I want to talk to you a bit about the media, because it is absolutely so corrupt now. Being in the media, I have a staff of people that I can say, this is outrageous. Did you see this? Did you see this? Is this true? You don't have that, okay? How many of you feel you have a place, and I'm not asking for people to say, oh, it's a place. What I am asking for is a legitimate, how many people feel you have at least one source that you count on, that you like, if they say it? Does anybody have that? Oh, wow. Well, thank you. That's very nice of you to say. How many people still watch mainstream or old-style media? How many people get their news? You do? And why is that? Can we get a mic over here? This is second row.
I still watch it to compare it to what the media that I trust more, and so I can compare them and see
for you. Why do you do that?
Disconnect is, and maybe see even the media that I tend to trust more, maybe where some of their shortfalls may be.
Good for you. Good for you. That is extraordinarily important, to read what the other side is saying, because you're right. Sometimes we might get so wrapped up in our own point of view that we're not hitting it right. And also, how are you going to talk to friends? You know, has anybody had the experience where you talk to friends who are very, very liberal and it's like you're speaking, French, and they don't have any idea what you're even talking about. That didn't happen. That didn't happen.
Sound bites they heard on MSNBC.
What'd you say?
They're reciting the sound bites from MSNBC. So when you try to explain something...
Hang on just a sec. Let us get a microphone to you. Because I'm enjoying this, but go ahead.
I've got some friends I've met every Friday for more than 10 years now for lunch. And I love these guys. If they happen to watch this, I love you guys. But the conversation rarely goes outside of what's emotional. We can't talk about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. There's not any interest in that. It's, well, Biden paid my college debt off, so I'm going to vote for him. And that really is as deep as it goes.
Right.
And it's frustrating because I can't convince them to think about what they're agreeing to. And it's difficult.
Thank you. So one question that I want to ask personally from you. What is it that we can do, that I can personally do, that would help you? What do we not talk enough about? What information do you feel you're missing? How can we make it more clear for you? Yes.
Well, for me, Glenn, I appreciate everything. I turn to people like yourself and maybe a couple of other conservative news people, but maybe steer us in a direction where we can all be in one accord. We all know, okay, call your congressman, do this, do that. But what about if X happens in November? Here's the plan that we can all do together to maximize the outcome. Whether it's we're all going to send letters, we're going to get our own lobby going. But what is it? So we could be more like a 2-2-3 round instead of a shotgun blast, doing a bunch of different things. So we can maximize the power that you have with your audience and other conservative hosts, as opposed to, it's kind of, we all know there's a lot of issues. Our country's going to hell. Okay, what is it that we can do together to maximize our efforts, to at least get us back on track and find our true north, which is the Constitution? That's what gives us our protection. How can we do that? I know it's a long question, but something like that.
Let me try to answer it in the minute that we have left. There are some things that I'm working on that even my producer, she's now sitting in the control room going, oh, dear God, now what? But there are some things that I want to try doing this summer, revolving around the Constitution and getting people involved in it, getting people involved in preserving the truths. You have to know them if you want to preserve them. And I know this sounds simple or dismissive, but it should not be dismissed. We are living in a time where we will see miracles if we are living a life where we can call them down, where we are living a life that is righteous enough as a group of people that we can ask for protection, we can ask for wisdom, and it will be granted. God is the only answer at this point. Amen. Good night, America.